Have you ever found yourself thinking about the one that got away? It's a phrase that echoes in our hearts, a concept that's almost as old as love itself. It's the elusive figure that walks in our dreams and lives in our what-ifs. The one that got away. It's a notion that's deeply ingrained in our society, a captivating idea that seems to have a hold on many of us. But why is it so prevalent? What makes us latch on to this concept? Well, there are a few reasons. Nostalgia, for one, is a powerful force. It paints our past with a rosy hue, making us long for things that once were, even if they weren't as perfect as we remember them. Regret, too, plays a significant role. It's human nature to dwell on the roads not taken, the opportunities missed. And when that regret is tied to love, it can feel all the more poignant. Then there's our tendency to idealize the past. We often remember people and events better than they actually were, glossing over the flaws and highlighting the good times. This can be particularly true when it comes to past relationships. We may overlook the reasons why things didn't work out, instead focusing on the good moments, the connection we felt. This can lead to a skewed perception of that person, making them seem like the one that got away. But perhaps the most interesting aspect of this concept is our propensity for wishful thinking and imagination. When we don't fully know a person, we're able to fill in the blanks with our idealized version of them. We create a perfect story about who they could have been, who we could have been together, and it's this story that keeps us hooked. But is there any truth to this idea, or is it just a myth we've constructed? Is the one that got away really the one, or is it just a figment of our imagination fueled by nostalgia, regret, and idealization? As we delve deeper into this topic, we'll explore these questions and more. Let's delve into our minds and see what the experts have to say about the one that got away. You see, psychologists have spent countless hours trying to understand this phenomenon, and their findings might surprise you. Firstly, human brains have a fascinating trait called rosy retrospection. This means we tend to remember past events as being more positive than they actually were. That's why the one that got away often seems perfect in retrospect. We conveniently forget the arguments, the incompatibilities, and the reasons why it didn't work out, and instead remember the good times, the laughter, and the shared moments. Moreover, a fact we often tend to overlook is that relationships, more often than not, end for valid reasons. Whether it was a lack of shared interests, differing life goals, or simply the wrong timing, these reasons are usually substantial enough to prevent a successful relationship. Studies have shown that rekindling an old flame often results in the same issues resurfacing, leading to another breakup. Now, let's talk about the concept of the one. It's a captivating idea, isn't it? The notion that there's a single perfect person for everyone. But the truth is, compatibility is not a one-time checkbox, but rather a constant process of growth, compromise, and understanding. The one is not the person who got away, but the person who chooses to stay, through the highs and lows, the good days and bad. Lastly, let's not forget the power of our imagination. When we don't fully know someone, we tend to fill in the blanks with our own idealized version of them. This is why the one that got away often seems so perfect, because we have created a flawless version of them in our minds. So it seems our brains might be playing tricks on us when it comes to the one that got away. It's a captivating illusion, but just that, an illusion. The real one is the person who sticks around, who chooses to be with us, no matter the circumstances or obstacles. If the one that got away is a myth, then what's the truth about the one? Well, let's delve into this. The one is not some mythical creature who slipped through your fingers due to unfortunate circumstances. No, the one is someone who chooses to be with you despite the odds, the hurdles, the ups and downs, the good days and the bad. It's about mutual choice, a shared commitment. It's not about perfection, but about acceptance, seeing each other's flaws and choosing each other anyway. It's about working together through the tough times and growing together in the process. It's about knowing that the world is full of people, yet choosing to be with that one person over and over again. The one is not a person who got away. They are the one who stays, who sticks around, who doesn't run at the first sign of trouble. They are the one who sees your worst and still thinks you're the best. They are the one who makes an effort to understand you, who respects you, who supports you. They are the one who doesn't just tell you they love you, but shows it in their actions every single day. The one is not about idealization or wishful thinking. They are not a figment of your imagination or a character in a romantic novel. They are real and they are flawed, just like you. They are the one who sees your flaws, accepts them, and loves you all the same. In the end, the one is not about finding the perfect person, but about building a perfect love with an imperfect person. It's not about chasing after someone who doesn't want to be caught, but about finding someone who doesn't want to run. So let's stop romanticizing the one that got away and start appreciating the one who chooses us every day, despite our imperfections, despite the challenges, despite the odds. Because in the end, true love is not about finding the perfect person, but about seeing an imperfect person perfectly. In other words, the one is not someone who got away, but someone who stays. So if it's not about the one that got away, why do we still cling to this concept? It's a question that tugs at the threads of our heartstrings, and the answer lies not in the realm of reality, but in the world of our perceptions. Our perspective, fueled by wishful thinking, often paints an idealized portrait of past relationships. We remember the good times, the shared laughter, the tender moments, and conveniently forget the quarrels, the disagreements, and the incompatibility. This selective memory, coupled with the human inclination towards romanticizing what we can't have, gives birth to the myth of the one that got away. Let's take a step back and consider this. Are we mourning the loss of a person or the loss of an idea? Are we grieving for a relationship that was, or a fantasy that never had the chance to be? When we're in love, we're often blinded by our feelings, making us overlook the flaws and imperfections of our beloved. We see them through rose-tinted glasses, perceiving them as perfect beings who can do no wrong. This infatuation, however, is not the same as true love. True love sees all, the good and the bad, and still chooses the person. Take, for instance, the story of Jane and John. Jane was madly in love with John, but he chose to walk away. For years, Jane clung on to the idea of John, believing he was the one that got away. But when she eventually met him years later, she realized that the John she had been in love with was a figment of her imagination, a character she had created in her mind. The real John was far from perfect. This is the power of perspective. It can make us believe in illusions, in fantasies, in the one that got away. But once we peel back the layers of idealization and see the person for who they truly are, we realize that the one that got away is merely a concept, a figment of our imagination. It's not the one that got away that we're in love with, but the idea of them. So what does all this mean for true love? Let's take a step back and summarize what we've covered so far. First, we've debunked the allure of the one that got away, highlighting that it's a romanticized notion more often than not based on our own perceptions and desires rather than a reflection of reality. Next, we delved into the psychology behind this concept and how our brains are wired to remember the positive aspects about past relationships while conveniently forgetting the reasons why they didn't work out in the first place. We then challenged the reality of the one, emphasizing that there isn't just one person out there for each of us. Instead, we have the capacity to love and be loved by many people throughout our lives. Following that, we explored the power of perspective and how it can distort our views of past relationships. We tend to idealize the one that got away, often because we didn't get a chance to truly know them and see their flaws. So, where does this leave us when it comes to true love? Here's the truth. True love isn't about finding a person who fits a perfect image in our minds. It's about seeing someone as they truly are with all their imperfections and choosing to be with them regardless. It's about being present, focusing on the person you're with now, rather than dwelling on past relationships. True love is not a quest to find the one that got away, but a journey of understanding, acceptance, and growth with someone who chooses to be with you, no matter the circumstances or obstacles. It's about loving an imperfect person perfectly in the here and now. Remember, true love isn't about finding the perfect person, but loving an imperfect person perfectly.